Moepork here, bringing you another Wildstar raid guide. This second boss in Genetic Archives will be your raid's first test in coordination. Kuralak is a two-phase encounter with a hard and rage mechanic attached. Packed with hide and seek and Dance Dance Revolution, this party girl will keep your raid on their toes.
New subjects. You two will be added to the archives.
The fight begins with pillars exploding, followed by Kuralak casting Vanish into Darkness. Kuralak will disappear and teleport behind one of the outer pillars with stealth. Players must find and interrupt Kuralak in a short amount of time, or it will end up in a wipe. Kuralak has 0 interrupt armor. Throughout the entire first phase, lasers will be rotating around each pillar. The inner pillars will always choose to rotate counterclockwise, meaning you need to move left. The outer pillars will choose to spin in a random direction at the start of the encounter. These lasers are lethal. Luckily, they're very easy to avoid. Kuralak will frequently cast PUTRID Discharge. This will target 3 random players and do high damage and inflict a massive slow. Be careful not to get hit by multiple telegraphs at once. This can happen often as well since your raid will generally be stacked together. Phase 2 begins at 73%. All lasers fade away and instead, the 4 pillars will randomly explode and leave a lingering telegraph attached. Easy to avoid, but this serves as a way to limit your space around the room. The boss will continue to cast Putrid Discharge throughout the entire encounter. Kuralak will begin Phase 2 by casting Cultivate Corruption. The first cast will randomly choose one target to become the egg. The egg will pulse for moderate damage until it is interrupted. If not interrupted, the player that was egged will die. After the egg is interrupted, the chosen player and the player that interrupted the egg will both have a debuff called Chromosome Corruption. This debuff increases damage and healing done by 100%, but you will take high damage over time as well. If a player with this debuff interrupts any more eggs, that player will instantly die. Anytime someone dies with the Chromosome Corruption debuff, a random player will become an egg and need to be interrupted. Kuralak will occasionally cast Outbreak. This will kill anyone standing in the attack and must be avoided by using a line of sight as indicated by the telegraph. The boss will also occasionally cast DNA Siphon. This will stun the current tank and deal massive damage over time. This must be interrupted by the second tank. After this ability is interrupted, all other players' threat will be reduced tremendously, while the interrupter jumps far to the top of the threat. If a non-tank interrupts this ability, it will generally cause a wipe. You will want to bring 2 tanks, 3 healers, and a balanced DPS makeup. Kuralak is immune to taunt. Make sure threat is established in the beginning or bad things might happen. There is a safe spot in the very center of the room that no lasers will pass through. This spot should be reserved for your tank and your tank healer. You will want to assign 6 players to each outer pillar in the room to handle interrupts when Kuralak uses Vanish into Darkness. The players will have to get close to the pillar in order to see Kuralak, since she will be stealth. She will use Vanish into Darkness every 45 seconds after she returns to the center of the room. Make sure your pillar players orient themselves to the correct pillar before the next Vanish. Also, if players leave too early, the outside of the room can end up ticking for high damage over time and end up killing that player. It's generally a good idea to wait for the Vanish cast before leaving. In Phase 2, you will want to assign your top DPS to be in charge of grabbing the first egg interrupt. You should also not put this player on pillar duty. You will also want a floater to take care of any unfavorable choices for random eggs. The egg counts increase with each Cultivate Corruption. It will go to 1 egg, 2 eggs, 4 eggs, 8 eggs, and then 16 eggs, which is a wipe. If your group has high DPS, you can avoid the 8 egg phase completely. Otherwise, you want to assign people to interrupt eggs for each egg phase. Players can put their assigned targets as a focus target or mark them with an icon. Players with the Cultivate Corruption will want to spread out from each other before the cast finishes. If 2 eggs are on top of each other, it will be extremely difficult for a player not to interrupt both eggs, which will cause a death in the process. As for the floater, it works like this. Say player A, let's call him Jeff. Say Jeff was supposed to interrupt the random egg in round 2, but instead got chosen to be the random egg. The floater will now interrupt the random egg in round 2 instead, and all those that were assigned to interrupt Jeff will now interrupt the floater. It's important that the random egg communicates who they are and when they were supposed to interrupt. Interrupters must be quick to interrupt while making sure not to interrupt the boss at the same time, in case she also casts a DNA Siphon, though the only notable time this happens is during the 8 egg phase. Make sure players with the egg debuff are also following healers behind pillars when avoiding Outbreak. Oftentimes this dot can kill a player behind the pillar if there's no healer to keep that player topped off. Any more than 2 early deaths on this encounter can usually cause a lot of problems during progression. The success of this encounter largely depends on how quickly and cleanly the eggs are handled.